Hello, Mayor, Committee and Council members, City staff and members of the public. It's Fire Chief Alex Hamilton, and today I have the agenda item of the Assistance to Firefighter and Fire Prevention and Safety Grant applications before you. And so the recommendations of Finance and Government Committee recommend the City Council authorise the submission of the 7th grant applications to the AFG grant program, also authorise the submission of the FP&S, which is the Fire Prevention and Safety Grant Program, authorise the City Manager or designee to execute the grant agreements, authorise the Chief Financial Officer or designee to submit financial reports, and finally authorise the Fire Chief or designee to submit non-financial reports. And just as a very quick note, Council recently passed a resolution regarding grants and grant applications. We wanted to make sure we're very transparent. We haven't actually received an appropriation for the grant match contained in this agenda item, which is why we're coming before the committee and the council. Okay, so just as a way of introduction, the Assistance to Firefighter grant, or AFG, and the Fire Prevention and Safety, or FP&S grants, both grants that we apply for on an annual basis. So you can see the program objectives for both grants there on the slide, and so we've been successful in procuring grants from both these programs over the years. We'll talk a little bit. We were fortunate enough to receive some grant funding from them, and you can see there over the years we've received a number of different grants from AFG. We've received 2 grants to train paramedics, totaling over $850,000. We have purchased a ladder truck through an AFG grant. That was back in 2014, I believe, which is why it's significantly cheaper than the current market. We've also been able to purchase a light and air unit, which is a specialty piece of equipment. And then it's the AFG grant has funded a whole host of smaller equipment items, including chest compression devices, paramedic monitors, thermal imaging cameras, and wildland equipment, just to name a few of the very varied grants we've received. For the FP&S grant, last year they awarded $36 million nationwide, so obviously a much smaller grant program. But over the last, you can see there from 2011 to 2020, we've received 3 different FP&S grants, awarding over $900,000, and it's allowed us to install over 20,000 smoke detectors in the city, which is sorely needed for this city. For this year, though, for our AFG applications, just to explain very briefly, so we can apply as the Oxnard Fire Department for a number of grants, and then separately we can also participate in regional grant applications. And so each fire department can be a lead on a regional grant application, and then every fire department can participate in as many regional grants as there are fire departments. So you can see there we have 4 regional grants, and then we are applying for 3 grants internally just for the city of Oxnard. So you can see there the paramedic squad, EMS training, and then EMS training equipment, excuse me, and then paramedic training for a single firefighter. And the next slide sort of goes over a little bit more about the other applications as well. It's also worth noting the total requested amount of just under $1.95 million. That's due in part, the maximum award that the city of Oxnard could receive from AFG in a single year is $2 million. So we'd like to try and get as close as we can to that ceiling to take full advantage of that grant program. So for the city of Oxnard, this year we will be applying for a paramedic squad, valued at around $275,000. The current squad that's operating out of Fire Station 6 is built on a 2007 chassis, and so it's in need of replacement. The next piece is the EMS training equipment. valued at $250,000. Increasingly in the last few years, some really fantastic advances in the EMS training equipment has become available. It makes for much more lifelike scenarios. These mannequins can give feedback. They can yell and scream. They can bleed. Their vital signs will improve when we get our procedures right. So it gives us as close to lifelike conditions as possible. And then lastly, there funding for sending a single firefighter to paramedic school. Now for our regional applications, and once again, we are going to be the regional lead for an urban search and rescue training application. The City of Oxnard will be requesting funds to the value of $292,000. There'll also be a regional application from the Ventura County Fire Department for turnouts, which is the equipment, the protective equipment that our firefighters wear when they fight structure fires. Third is a regional application by Fillmore Fire Department. And so this is for prevention training. So it will allow both prevention and suppression personnel to attend fire prevention, inspection, and plans examiner classes to maintain certifications. And our share of that will not exceed $400,000. And then last, the City of Ventura Fire Department will be requesting hazardous materials training. All right, now switching over to the Fire Prevention and Safety Grant Program. As you can see there, we've had a significant issue responding to fires in homes without working smoke detectors. And so with this is, we are continuing our efforts in installing as many smoke detectors in as many homes as possible. This grant application, if successful, allows us to install another 5,000 long life tamper-proof combination detectors, meaning they detect both smoke and carbon monoxide. So the funding for that would be $350,000 with a 5% match. And you can see there, in addition to the 5,000 detectors, regular detectors, will also be requesting 15 special detectors for the hearing impaired. Just to discuss timelines a little bit, we wanted to make sure we got before council well in advance of the application windows. Generally, the application period is only 4 weeks long, so we wanted to make sure that council could weigh in on this item prior to the application period. The grant application period will likely open late in December, probably more likely early January, and then, as I said, open for a 4-week window. The FP&S grant will essentially, that application period will open when the AFG grant period closes. Both of those grant programs, all the awards have to be awarded by September 30th of 2024, and that's by statute. So you can see here the total request amount for the 7 AFG grants and the FP&S grant is just under $2.3 million. Which requires a total match amount of $193,000. So it's all listed there on the table. Although for those of you who are paying attention, you may notice that that the math doesn't seem quite right from what you remember from school. And so just as a way of explanation, you see here, this comes directly from the AFG grant program website. And you can see there a 10% match on a $100,000 grant, according to the cost match calculations that FEMA uses, actually comes out to less than $10,000. It's just, you can see there it's $9,090. And so the way they calculate it actually helps the local jurisdiction, because in my mind, at least, it feels like it's a little under 10%, but this is the way they do the calculations. I just wanted to make sure everyone was clear on that, because otherwise it wouldn't make sense at face value. And so finally, the fiscal impact, the expenditures are anticipated to start in the 24-25 fiscal year. And so we will be requesting the match amount in the budget process. The grant generally is a 12-month period of performance. So from the date that we're awarded, there'll be a 12-month period of performance. Generally, those grants start getting released sometime in July. Like I said, then they're all being awarded by the end of September. The one ongoing cost that I wanted to highlight was that training a firefighter at the level of paramedic will have an approximate annual fiscal impact of $9,600 for a firefighter, and that's pursuant to the MOU agreement between the city and Oxnard Firefighters Association, IFF Local 1684. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that committee, council, or public might have. Thank you so much for the time.